Which one is this one? I don't know which one it is. Must be that one. Yep. All right, cool. Good. All right, we are live. Thank you for the beginning graphics again to Jay for doing that. You are watching Sessions streamed live from Shaker's Bar, downtown Cape, every Thursday from 8 to 10 p.m. And as always, I'm super excited to be here and got some cool stuff to talk about tonight. We are talking about relationships, fellas, and it's going to be really good. I actually had, I call her my little sister, but I actually had Elizabeth lined to come in and help us with the female perspective on you actually have that in your beard.
One of us. I'll hide it, but I took it off. It's uncomfortable.
I just noticed that. Yeah. I actually had Liz lined up to come in to give us a female perspective on relationships because that's always good. But she had some other things she had to take care of, so couldn't make it. So we're just going to have to be as open-minded as
four dudes could be.
As four dudes can be. And there's an old Indian's tale that if smoke goes to you, that you're the most beautiful person in the group, and the smoke just fuck going around me, man.
You're looking really good tonight.
Thank you. I took a shower. That makes a difference.
That definitely helps.
It does. But
it's been about 3 months.
I've been getting a lot of feedback on Sessions, guys, from people that have been messaging me and then just kind of talking to me here and there. I don't know if you guys have had that, but they're liking what we're doing. They like the honesty. They like that we're not talking about politics. They like that we're kind of talking about everyday life stuff, and so I think we're on the right track with that. So my guest, of course, Zach, Cody, Jonathan's back after going to a wedding reception. I guess you have priorities. You gotta go do things besides come here.
Sadly, it'll never happen again.
Oh, never.
I'm not even going to my little brother's wedding.
Oh, there we go.
History will forget your name.
I love how you just alienate everybody to just be part of this. It's awesome. What are you drinking tonight?
We call it a Moncherly.
A hui high?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So it's Yoo-hoo with a vanilla rum with a little cherry liqueur there.
So I got you. I've actually gotten, Yoo-hoo is the main one, but now that I have Screwball for you because of Cody. But I got Yoo-hoo because of you. And
Yoo-hoo and Rumpel, man.
I saw a couple of good little comments from people, and they came and told me stuff. It's like, oh, you have Yoo-hoo now? So I didn't realize there were so many cool things to do with Yoo-hoo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You can't
Brown water's amazing.
Yeah,
I don't understand why Flint keeps complaining.
Oh my. Well, I don't think there's any sugar content in the Flint water. I don't think you want to mix that with Rumpelman.
That is the solution to the problem.
Just put sugar in the water.
Just put sugar in it.
There you go, Flint, Michigan. No more water problems for you. Just pour some sugar in your water, boil it on your stove, and put some sugar in it. You'll have Yoo-hoo.
It'll be fun. It'll make a man out of you.
So Zach's always kind of trying different stuff. Cody always has his traditional, tequila and orange juice. And then we've got the real American.
I've decided I need to quit drinking beer on the show, though. But I didn't think I was going to be on the show tonight.
But he also has a beer on backup. Let's.
What's a beer on backup?
He's got a beer on backup.
Figured I'm already in. I got to commit at this point. But next week,
we thank Bailey for stuff like that because Bailey show up with drinks during the show. She's awesome. So Bailey has the bar. Bailey, did you do any dad jokes tonight? So that's what are the what's the joke? What happened with the blue ship crashing into the red ship? They got marooned? They were marooned. Yeah, that's our dad joke. That's awesome. All right, before we get any further, Jay, we need to see your shirt so we don't forget.
One of my favorites.
Open up your shirt, show them Joy Division. I think you wore a different Joy Division one time.
Oh, yeah.
I've worn 0 other ones. I've got 3 shirts.
You zoomed in on it.
So I would like to offer anybody that has a T-shirt line that they'd like premiered on the show.
No kidding.
Jay's more than happy to wear your T-shirt.
It's got to be good, though.
Fits. Yeah, it's got to be a good T-shirt.
Good.
Speaking of T-shirts, guys, I think you'll be interested in hearing this. So we got 3 T-shirts that I'm working on. We got 2 for the bar for Shakers, which are really cool, and then I've got 1 for Sessions. And we're going to start with those, and we'll offer those for sale for the show.
Oh, fantastic!
Half of every shirt sold will go to charity. Nice. We'll do St. Jude or Humane Society or Safe House for Women. We'll just pick different ones. So we'll be doing T-shirt sales here pretty soon. Half of every T-shirt sold, the half that would be going into my pocket, will go to charity. That'll help encourage people to buy them, and you can also show your support. And we'll put that out there. So the bar shirt's kind of cool. They'll be kind of original and pretty simple messages, but I've been learning through social media that the shorter the message, the quicker, and the quick hit stuff, people pay attention to it better. So
attention spans are shrinking.
It is, man. I guess it's part of how it is. And I was told, like, when I do my videos and my stuff like that, I need to keep them, under a minute, and people don't like to watch much longer than that. And I said, what does that mean for this show? Because it's 2 hours long.
I feel like with podcasts, there's like it's kind of a different, because people know what they're getting. If you click on like, oh, my friend on Facebook posted this video, if it's like 4 minutes and 34 seconds long, you get to a point where you're like, okay, and click off. But when you're getting onto a podcast, you know what you're getting on.
Plus, you guys are here, so that's fine.
I mean, this show definitely holds my attention for about a minute.
For at least a minute?
At least a minute.
I got a minute 10, minute 15. Whew. Got that last week. Well, no, I watch the playback on the shows more for the fact that I want to always do the best show I can do, always offer the best show and best content, and make sure we're getting the right feedback out of people. So, all right. So again, I wanted to also mention to you that if you want to message the show, we'd love for you to do that. You notice the guests will be on their phone throughout the show. You can message the Shakers page, and they'll see your messages, and you can interact. And if you'd like to share in the conversation, we'd love for you to do that. And we'd also like for you to give us topics and ideas of things that you'd like to discuss. We always have different things we talk about every show, but we know there's people out there that have an interest. I know mental health is going to have to come back around here real soon, probably before Christmas, as we get into the crazy season.
And share.
That's right. Thank you. Yep. And we don't mean share like, if I could turn back time. We don't mean that share. We mean share, like hit that share and like button. Follow the Shakers page. If you
smash
follow it,
that like button.
You'll get I know, smash. They got all those nice little things there. But if you'll follow it and then hit the like button, you can follow the Shakers page, and then every time we go live or there's a live announcement, something special, you'll get notified about it, and you can bling into it. So, quickly, also, I would love to have some of the female gender come on. We've had kind of a shortage of that. It seems like now every female that wants to come on has something comes up and they can't come. So we had Josie scheduled for tonight, and Josie had some other things she had to take care of. She explained to us what it was, but it's not important. She had some other things she had to take care of. And I had another guest lined up, and she canceled last minute. So if you are anybody of the female gender and you'd like to come on the show, I'd love to have you on here. We do need a balance on here, and so for those that have been asking for females to come on, believe me, we want them on. So if you know anyone that has something to say, we'd love for them to come on the show. So I know you guys are looking around for people, so hopefully we can get that. And then if you'd like to have your name or your business advertised on the show, mentions, we've got great, really, really inexpensive, almost no money cost for the advertisement, the barter and change of information. So really, really simple. So let's get right into it. I know that I've got a couple people that may be showing up later for the relationship part. It's actually a boyfriend and girlfriend, and we had a really nice conversation. And folks, if you're wondering kind of how this show came about, the guys that are here presently, and then of course Jonathan, it's people that I have conversations with in the bar. And it kind of was a nice kind of a breeding ground for this type of show. But I have a conversation with these guys. Cody and I have had in-depth conversations. Zach and I the same way. And, of course, more recently, Jonathan. Of course, Matt Lawler's out tonight, but he's also someone that we have good conversation with. Matt, hello at home. I think you're probably watching. I'm not sure. But if you are, let us know. Let us know you're watching. Matt had daddy duties. So
we said duty.
I know I did say duty, daddy duty. But he got called away for daddy duty. Wife had to work, so he's committed to that. So we'd love for you to let us know you're watching. And again, also if you are watching, especially wherever you're watching from, let us know who you are and where you're from. We'll just mention your first name and location. We kind of like to get a feel of where we're at in the region and where you're at from that. And I know you guys have friends and family. I know Zach, you've got family everywhere. So I'm sure that
we've got Big D and friends already commenting. So
who's Big D?
Dalton.
Oh, Dalton.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome, Dalton. Stay on board, man. We got a good show. All right. So I always we always do our first segment is always kind of lighthearted banter, and we talk about fun subjects and stuff. And of course, you got no subjects this week. You got no updates. But the main subject is relationships. So when we get to that part, if you're still here, you may have to duck out. But if you are still here, we're just going to talk about your personal experiences with relationships, and basically we're going to talk about all kinds, not just
specifically your.
Yeah,
we're getting deep this week.
And we're going to have you write it all down. So, no, but it'll be basically your experience with relationships, and it's not just committed, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. It's just interpersonal, your relationships with everybody, family, everything. So we're going to talk about toxicity and all that kind of stuff. So that'll kind of, so you know where we're at on that.
Cool.
So, but we're going to start out with our lighthearted banter, and I wanted to bring up a couple things. And I'm always on the internet and checking out. I made the mistake of making my iPhone a Kindle. So now I'm reading books every single day, which is great that I'm reading, but it made it sound terrible that's a Kindle. But now it's like another addiction.
They're reading to you though.
It's another addiction though, man. It's like I'm reading this one about these
You have
9
a Kindle app? Is that what?
Yeah, it's a
you've been
Kindle
using?
app, and then you turn your phone into a Kindle, and then you just pick books.
How are the picture books treating you?
Well, the ones with when they, the dark ones where they, the scary cartoons.
Yeah.
I have to call my wife, and she has to hold my hand while I'm reading them,
It's only reasonable.
and she turns the lights on everywhere so I don't get scared of shadows.
We do have a Palm Bay, Florida, though, just so you know.
Oh yeah, Florida, man. Florida's a cool state. Being honest, it is a pretty cool state, man.
It's half and half.
No,
some crazies in Florida.
No, there
It
is.
is
Look,
half and half, but it's like an extreme
Based-
half.
it
based
is.
on
really
some
nice
news
and
articles.
really
Yeah.
sketchy.
I know it is, but that's what I think the dynamic is. The balance in Florida is you've got really affluent, like beautiful areas, a lot of money,
You just stay out of the northern panhandle and you're
and
fine.
then you've got the cray cray. And Missouri, to me, Missouri is similar to Florida without the ocean.
Hi, Lauren.
We have so many different levels of crazy in Missouri.
Yeah.
You got the Walmart crazy.
Yeah.
You guys have watched the YouTube videos on Walmart people, and that's true. And then you've got doctors, lawyers, and business and entrepreneurs that are up, and Cape's a good dynamic of that too, because we've got a good balance of that. So, all right,
Crazies here too.
plenty. Yeah, and they're all on the show.
I was eyeballing the shit out of it.
I know. As Zach was you were gonna own up to that.
Got nothing to hide there, Bob.
You gotta. So
The hard part's when one of them speaks sign language.
the first part I want to talk about is I like talking about nice stuff. We talked about last week. We talked about some of the educators from Blanchard fixing up the basketball court over here, and we were happy about that. But I wanted to bring up, there's a video going around. It's got over 38 million views right now, and if you guys can find it on YouTube. But it's a video of a guy, he's I think 62 years old, and his daughter and wife give him a pair of glasses, and they're to help him see colors. He's been colorblind his entire life. Have you seen this video?
I've seen other of
Oh.
the same kind,
But this is amazing. So this guy is a big burly guy standing on his front porch, and he opens up the gift, and he doesn't really know what it is. And his wife says, "Put them on, baby. Can you see now? Can you see the colors?" And he keeps looking and looking. It's such a touching video, man. And so anything that brings my emotion up, and this video made me kind of tear up a little bit. I'm being real. To see the joy in this guy's face when he got those glasses, and then I realized how lucky I've had it, just on something as simple as being colorblind. Like I can't imagine what it's like to not be able to see colors. Imagine how hard it is to not know what you're looking at, the beauty and stuff. The rosy cheeks in your kid's face, or flowers, or whatever it is you're looking at. Why are you looking at me like that? Like you want to eat me?
I'm just trying to hold back laughter.
You can laugh all you want. You can't be sentimental.
You're distinctively looking at a colorblind person, being like, dude, I can't
I
believe
know.
what it is to be colorblind.
Listen. So here's the funny part. You usually mess with me,
Of course.
and get me, and I just messed with you and got you. So I looked at Zach the whole time, because Zach is pretty much not all the way colorblind, but for the most part, you're colorblind.
Yeah.
So this is kind of the reason I did the story is the video. The video. You guys don't have to use me to drink. Don't make me your vice, okay?
Don't tell us how to live our life.
Don't bust me. You don't say that. You don't say that. So anyway, I just wanted everybody to check it out, because it's a good feel-good video. But speaking as somebody, you're someone that's dealt with color blindness. You are just a messed up individual, aren't you? You are just freaking,
They took my arm off and threw it over there.
man. If you survive, like if you make it through,
Right.
I want some of your blood.
Dude, you can have it.
Like I'm gonna drink some of it, because I think if you make it through, because right now you're hard charging.
Woo.
You're hard charging through color blindness, terminal illness, and
What's
very
up?
small penis. I don't know how you do it.
I got a great personality.
It is.
It really
Okay,
gets
what's the
it
girl,
gets you past
what's
the
the girl
small
look
penis.
like? Oh, she's really nice. No, what's she look like? Oh man, she's really funny. What's she look like? Got a great personality. Okay, I'm not dating her. Like on The Office where he says, what she plays softball, infield or outfield.
I also like along the same lines of the colorblind thing. There's the videos of like babies getting cochlear implants. Ones that are born deaf getting cochlear implants and hear their moms talk for the first time and their little smiles, dude.
There's nothing better like the joy on a kid's face. You know, babies are so innocent, but you're right. That's the other one where they had another one where they were talking to the kid and they said, "Can you hear me?" And the kid's like, "Yeah, it's amazing."
Dalton, and I mean great personality.
Yeah. Dalton said, if somebody says great personality, it means they're
homely.
They need extra help in the facial area. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder, guys. So you find your love.
Thank God I'm
That's
blind.
Right. Yeah, but anyway, any of those feel good videos. Another place is called dodo.com. I don't know if you guys know about Dodo.
I'm aware of dodos.
They show a lot of really good feel-good stories with animals and humans, and like they do the rescue dogs off the side of the road, and they get fixed up, and they show their transition from being abused to being loved on, and I just love that stuff, man, because there's so much negative stuff on the internet, and it's so good to see cool stuff.
My favorite one was Bruce Jenner. That transition story was great.
God damn it.
Never freaking do a feel-good. You're unbelievable.
I know. Want some?
Crack. Okay. Don't take his crack.
I keep that thing on me.
Don't take his crack.
I got that B12 tonight.
B12.
Working on that immune system.
So, is that energy and immunity, right? Yeah, okay. I don't know why. Are you all right? Oh, you've been a little sick.
I've been sick. I need something.
You're usually sick in the head, but now you're...
Now it's a physical ailment.
Now it's like the whole thing.
Yeah.
You're just a walking, talking...
Petri dish.
So, I also wanted to quit mention we do local stuff, too. I just had a really good interview. We're doing a 3-part interview with Kirby Ray on Real Rock about Zombie Prom. Oh, nice. And 99.3 Real Rock has kind of adopted it as their kind of end of Halloween celebration. So they kind of do one, they did the Rocktoberfest at Perryville, and so Kirby wanted to kind of tie in with us. So he's doing part of their Rocktober is Zombie Prom. So nice. His band Emaciation will be here, and there's Nor Days and a few others going to be here, and we'll have a photo booth and props and King and Queen at midnight for the Zombie Prom, and so it'll be a cool event. I really don't push a lot of the events from the bar because I wanted this to be more about us having a conversation about stuff, but in that case, so tomorrow between 2 and 3, I'll be on with Kirby. We did about a 10-minute interview, and then we got 1 or 2 more we're going to try to do before 26. So Zombie Prom is the 26. So really good. And Kirby Ray's been around forever in the local area. He's a great local personality and real down-to-earth guy. He's real fun to talk to, and he just loves this area. He's like me. I'm from here my whole life, and we love the area and the kind of the diversity and the balance of everything that's here. And so we're going to turn this into a tradition. And of course, we're doing free for the door. You can get in free, but we're doing donations, optional donations for St. Jude for that night. So we're going to hopefully present a nice big juicy check to St. Jude through Mike Rennick. It'd be kind of cool to give that to him.
Prom? What is that? I'm sure
Zombie Prom, basically you dress up like a zombie from however you want to do it. Can be from
wear like formal stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like
are you aware of what
you
prom
just literally
is?
have a zombie, just how it sounds then?
It's like if you were doing a high school prom or something in college, it would be you dress up like zombies and you wear a suit or you can wear whatever and you put on your zombie makeup. There's some really cool makeup now that people put on, and then we've had DJs. We're doing live music this year. It's free to get in, so it's really easy. We have a photo booth with a backdrop with props, and we do. I'm gonna break out the VR and do the horror games on there, so people can do like the horror game experience. Yeah. And then we'll do a zombie King and Queen at midnight, and they get a little prize pack and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a lot of fun, man, and people love. I think Halloween is probably the second most popular holiday, even though they don't really count it as a holiday, but. To Christmas, I think, as far as like the overall involvement. So we do it we did it last year, and this year we're doing it even bigger, so we're excited about it. But anyway, you can listen to that interview tomorrow between 2 and 3 on 99.3, local FM station, and you can check that out. So a couple of cool stories I wanted to go over with you guys. I keep finding these really cool websites that have these now, and that's the cool thing about them is that they're actually real stories. About crazy stuff that's going on in the world. So there was one that I thought would be interesting. I wanted to bring this up. We talked about serial killers like 2 episodes ago. And so 4 serial killers who fell in love with other psychopaths. I thought that was very interesting, but this is from cracked.com. I always want to cite my sources so they get credit, but because we'd like to think that the world has some semblance of goodness left in it, we usually imagine that serial killers work alone. After all, these are 1 in a million psychopaths, and what are the odds of them even running into a like-minded person, let alone striking up a profound relationship with them? Yet, such pairings do happen, and more often than you'd think. Here are some romances that were less happily ever after and more. I hope the arresting officer brought extra handcuffs. So Henry Lee Lucas and Otis Toole. Now, Henry Lee Lucas, isn't he the one that was kind of inspired the murder? Let's see.
Texas Chainsaw
Yes.
Massacre?
You should have just let him keep going.
I would have got it eventually. I was going to say Leatherface, but I think the Leatherface murders in Texas, which ended up being true, I think the killer in that was inspired by Henry Lee Lucas, and Henry Lee Lucas was the first one to really well-known guy that ate body parts and then cut skin off and we're gonna kept it as on like female figures in his house.
He's a very strange guy.
Yeah. So Henry Lee Lucas and Otis Toole were practically brothers from very effed up mothers, is what it says. Lucas was the son of an abusive alcoholic, and Toole, born 1947, had a single mother who his grandma were a pair of religious wackadoos. This
is a great source.
I know, right? It is. Moving on through there, anyway, they kind of fell in love with each other, so there was some homosexuality involved in that, but it's not really the reason I brought it up. It's just interesting that people actually fell in love with each other.
Were the Green River Killers, was that 2 heterosexual guys, or did they have a thing going on?
That's a good question. Let me look. The San Francisco Witch Killers.
Finds a way.
San Francisco Witch Killers, number 3. Michael Carson and his wife Susan were living a Mad Lib sentence, being self-proclaimed vegetarians, Muslim warriors who hated witches, and who was a witch. Well, whoever they felt was a witch at the time. And this says, Michael started out as James Clifford Carson and was your typical Jewish pot dealer in Phoenix, Arizona. I didn't know there was a typical type of pot dealer in Phoenix, but there you are. However, noticing some trouble
Very specific.
changes in his personality, his wife took their daughter and noped right out of there. After the split, he changed his name and came across Susan Barnes, a divorced mother of 2. You got to watch those divorcees.
Yeah.
She was the schizophrenic daughter of an Arizona newspaper exec with a craving for LSD. She also later changed her name, replacing the middle S with a Z because that's cooler, obviously.
Right.
As with the examples on the list, exactly what was said when these 2 met and struck up a romance is lost to history. Presumably, there was a magical moment when they each realized that the other had the most tenuous possible grasp on reality, and that it would be fun to just fly off the rails together. So that's interesting. Moving on.
This reminds me of Natural Born Killers real hard.
It does. It really does.
I'm just saying, with the guy with Z in his initials, it is cooler.
Yeah, it is really, actually. The Lonely Hearts Killers. Martha Beck didn't exactly fit the profile of a serial killer. One half of a flamboyant murder couple. She was a lonely, overweight woman who would write to Lonely Hearts columns in the local paper. And then she would ask for a guy using the most miserable section of a newspaper. He didn't seem that bad. And then, of course, at the time, Beck didn't know that a falling hatch aboard a ship had clonked Fernandez on the noggin. So it was Fernandez and this other one. Anyway, I'm going to move on. I just thought it was interesting. So if you guys want to check out a really cool website, cracked.com, it has like actual stories. This is not like a made-up Onion type stories, but they take actual really quirky stories throughout history. And
I was a huge fan of Cracked years ago, and then they changed the team, and it's just not as good. It's still good. It's just, dude, go back like.
So now Cracked used to be a
7 years
magazine like
watching
Mad, right?
I think so.
And they had like really goofy stories, but they were based
YouTube
on
channel, that's
fact.
really
Hey Danielle.
I don't know.
So
Chicken lady.
Chicken lady. Is that what we're calling her? Chicken lady. It's crazy. You guys are not talking very much, man.
Yeah, you're reading.
Prod. Yeah, you can jump in anytime. Jump in anytime. Good Lord. Okay. I don't think these people want to hear me as much. All right. So we're just going to jump right into it then.
That was it? That was your light banter? That was it?
I mean, what else do you want? You guys aren't saying a word, so we got to move on. Don't know what else to say.
Bring it.
All right.
What we got?
All right. We're going to jump in one really quick thing. This not really political. This is more economic than political, but we're going to go into this. We're going to do two things before we do our main topic. The first one is with the fact that free college and free healthcare are not possible. It's not possible to have both of those be free. We have to reasonably and economically, it's not possible. How do we make it more affordable? And is it all right to make other people pay? Mention rationing and bureaucrats. So I'm mentioning that. I just thought I'd throw this out to you guys and make this a quick topic of conversation, being that it's big on one side of the aisle to talk about free. Now, I'm all for making it more affordable, making it more available, but there's a couple things I'm concerned about. First of all, when you make it available to everybody and it makes it easier for people to go to college, you water down excellence. And I don't want people going to college water down excellence. I want them to achieve and strive and do the best they can. So I'm fine with having a conversation about how to make it more affordable. Obviously, nobody should have $100,000 in college debt, but at the same time, no one's telling you to go to college. I hear people talk about, I got all this debt. Yeah, well, my debt I have to pay, so it's kind of the same thing. You make a decision, and then there's healthcare. There's no way healthcare can be free for everybody. It's just not possible. I get for certain people that it needs to be available, especially for low income and for people that have disabilities and obviously things like that. For families with children, the children need to be covered and taken care of. So let's just throw this out. Let's just start. Zach, we'll start with you. I kind of know where you're at on some of this, but how can we make it more affordable? Then
pulling from the excellence part, being someone who wakes up and pisses excellence, I don't believe in watering it down by any means. How can it be more affordable? I don't know. Move out of the country. We're a very capitalistic country. We're not going to find a more affordable way reasonably. It's going to be a situation that's going to be on the soapbox. Everybody's going to be arguing this way and that. When it comes down to free college, that's never going to happen. I didn't have to go to college. I chose to.
right.
Now I do what every other person who went to college does, and that's just drink away the debt. It's easier. My bar tab's cheaper than my student loan bill. And he's already drinking on that one. But when it comes down to healthcare, I do actually think a lot of the low-income children, disability people, they're covered already. We're taking care of that. And by taking care of that, obviously, it's coming out of tax dollars. It's it's someone's money there, which contradicts my next statement, which is stay off my money. I'm not paying for your school. I don't mind helping the misfortuned, the disadvantaged. I don't mind doing that. Hell, I do that just out of my own pocket, let alone tax dollars. But the ideal of free, that is foolish and obtuse.
Yeah, it is. So, Cody, as someone that kind of sees the world through kind of a more of a middle, like a balanced ground. I mean, Zach and I are kind of on one side sometimes, but where are you at on this? I've never really talked to you about this before, and it's interesting. What do you?
I don't think that anything like healthcare and making people better should be something that people are making insane amounts of profit off of. You know what I mean? Like, it shouldn't be that you're charging this exorbitant amount for something that people are going to need, like cancer treatment, stuff like that. There's no reason it needs to be that much. You're literally, hospitals are getting ran like a business, and that's not cool. Like,
no,
I'm not saying that it should be free, but it definitely shouldn't be. You know what I mean? Like,
it turns into a supply and demand situation.
Right.
They're like, okay, well, how much are they willing to pay?
Well, exactly.
And then they'll hike it up as much
as.
And if it's a life or death situation, like, people will get into a lot of cases where they're like, okay,
I think the ridiculousness of healthcare systems having shareholders.
Right.
I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because that's all about profit. It's all about making money back.
So you're making money off
when
of
you're
the sick,
Aetna or your Blue Cross Blue Shield or your I know there's certain guidelines that restrict certain things, but they have a board of directors, and you can buy interest in those companies. And I have problems with any kind of healthcare system that is motivated by profit. That's the problem. Like Cody said, if you have terminal cancer, and we spoke about this last week, if you have a terminal disease, your treatment is ungodly. It's ridiculous. And my problem with that is if anybody needs to have a discount on healthcare, it should be someone that has something serious.
Right. And the discount is $2,000 for 6 pills, just in case we're curious.
It's ridiculous, man. Like,
and then if you look at Jonathan, if you look at the cost of how much it costs to actually make these medicines, and how much it costs to, as much as we're paying professors these days to, some professors, tenure are making $150,000, $200,000 a year at some of these Ivy Leagues, and then they want to upcharge on the thing. And that's the thing is, you're a college student, right? You're going to college, so you're right in the middle of it. My wife works in financial aid in college and at SEMO, so she talks to me about it a little bit. From your point of view, and you're looking at your future when you get out of school, I know you mentioned kind of what you and your girlfriend want to end up doing after school. You want to teach English in some other countries. You got to have money to travel. Yeah. And so the education you're getting now, have you projected how much debt you're going to have when you get out?
Roughly. It kind of, each semester, depending on how many classes you're taking, and colleges are constantly coming out with new, hey, we realize, we got a lot of expenditures here and here, so we're going to raise it only, like $1,100 per student, but it's just like, that's not a little,
right.
It'll just get brought up a lot where they're like, we're only raising it, this much, and it's because of this and this and this. We're like, you're paying $7,000 already to go to a school, and then on top of that, they're like, do you want to park in one of these parking spots so you can go to class? We can give you one of those. It's going to be like $100 or something like. It's just kind of ridiculous. And I agree with you 100% that like nobody's making anybody go to college. College is a choice. Yeah. But at the same time, where it used to be a situation that having a high school diploma was pretty much what you needed for any given job. Like I don't know if you have a college degree, but you're an entrepreneur. And I feel like in entrepreneurship, it can be a different kind of situation. But if you're trying to build yourself in a company, it gets to a point where they're like, hey, these guys have the same credentials. Like, he's got a college degree. Well, that shows that he's a hard worker and he's willing to get it done. So let's go ahead and give it to him. And I feel like college degree is becoming the new high school degree. It's the kind of base like,
you're not wrong. I've ran into that in my professional career.
Not just that, but they push it in schools like crazy. Yeah. You gotta prep for these college courses. You got to make sure you get into college so you can get a good job.
Yeah.
Like,
don't you think
people don't realize that you don't have to do that.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Now, my daughters, they're 10 years old, so they're not at that level yet, but I've encouraged them to strive at education as any parent would. But that's a good point you brought up about taking college classes in high school. We've noticed a big trend, especially in the bar business, where there's far less people coming out from colleges. It may be just awareness of drinking or whatever it is, but kids are graduating at 2021 now because they've already got 2 years of college done in high school. Yeah. And here's
if you could do that, do it, because it's way cheaper to get it paid for.
At a huge discount if you're in high school.
Huge discount. Yeah. Some of them are free part of your training.
Some of them are part of the courses at the school.
Because the schools know that you probably go to SEMO.
3 semesters paid because I was in high school.
If SEMO offers college level courses in high school, they know that most of the time those students are going to choose to go to SEMO, so it behooves SEMO to be, have extensions into the high schools.
Yeah. So. With the high school, I feel like it kind of seems like the system is set up to make the student fail in a lot of cases, because if you think about it, you're at one point having to raise your hand and ask if you can go use the restroom, and then like 6 months later, they're just like, "Do you want to take out this $12,000 loan?" Yeah. Like, and then next year you could take out another $12,000 or $15,000. Like, that's just kind of ridiculous. That in that short span of time, they're just like, "Oh no, this guy's mature enough." And plus, you cannot get rid of like student loans for anything. If you file bankruptcy, you still owe your student loans. It doesn't make any difference. Which is just
it follows you to the grave. It really does. Yeah, it does. And that's what I'm saying is when it comes to healthcare and education, if our government wants to do something for us, get involved in this. Make education more affordable for everybody. You still, you don't want to water it down so much to where you have people just graduating with, and no offense to anyone, but a general studies or liberal arts degree, and they have no focus on what they want to do. I'm just saying. Some people think that they're just
why I do comedy.
They're going to get a college degree, and that piece of paper is going to get them a job. And as they're finding out in the real world, people that are, like, for example, if I hire somebody, I want to know that they know what they're, they have experience. So if you go to a big company, if you work in marketing or, ads or any applied field, you have to have. They want to know you have some experience.
course.
That education is fine, but they're interviewing most of the academics have education.
You're
so.
in college. You are literally doing research papers constantly. You're telling me that you can't go and research what your degree is going to be and what it's going to get you. Like
A buddy of mine actually chose the IT field.
it's a great
That's
field.
the new liberal arts field,
Well,
right?
of course.
Yeah.
But he chose that.
Oversaturated as hell, though.
No
Oh,
offense to
substantially.
IT professionals, because there's a
Oh,
lot of they
sure.
need people out there with training, but
Sure.
it is really watered down.
He chose the IT field, went out to Rolla, good school for it. But he ran into that issue where he's applying at these jobs and they want X amount of years as experience. Problem is, your college degree is not experience.
No.
Unless, you run into so much bullshit, just hands-on, where you're like, okay, how do I fix this? They don't teach it in books.
Right.
So, it's cheaper to hire a kid with a bachelor's right out of college than someone with experience. Because a person like myself in sales and business management, I know what I'm worth, and I'm not going to take anything less.
You're worth all the gold in Africa.
It's true. Specifically, the southern parts.
What, did you say he had just graduated from the school in Rolla and
he's-
then tried to go somewhere?
So when he first ran into that issue, yes. He actually was fresh out of college, and he's got the college debt and blah, 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 right? Goes to apply at this job, and they're like, well, we want experience. Well, I just did all this college for it. So they hire him at a lower wage than someone who's done it for, 10 years.
Which is kind of ridiculous because I'm sure if he didn't have that college degree, they wouldn't even consider him. But it's just like, oh, you should have gotten experience. What have you been doing
Well,
for the
it's
last
weird
4
that you
years?
say that. IT is actually taking people without degrees over the ones who have degrees.
Yeah, if you have,
And
if
it's
you have
because,
applied,
people in our generation, I don't know how old you are, 23? All right. People in our generation, we grew up with the shit. We grew up having to learn how to use these computers, learn how to code them, learn how to hardwire them, and everything like that. We're ideal. We know it like the back of our hands. We already know the stuff that you're going to run into that they don't teach in a book.
Yeah.
The problem is, if we go for that, we're not taking anything less than $20 or right around there because that's what we're worth, knowing the knowledge.
Yeah.
When you can hire a kid doing it for $13, $14 an hour.
Well, I look at this like with education, for example. We've got all these candidates out there on the stump out there, at these debates talking about free this, free that, free this. I get the point to that. I get that being a selling point for you as a candidate, but you got to be real. Everybody knows you're full of crap.
It's never going to happen.
And here's my thing is, if you want to say make college more affordable, make medicine more affordable, let's have realistic review committees that are citizens made up that, they have some education, they can educate the public, and then they can also inform each other, and then they can work on pricing for medicine and healthcare. And that's the thing is, healthcare and education, as we mentioned, it's a business now. And when you make something into a business, although it is I don't think it should be in the capitalistic form. School is a choice. Secondary education is a choice. But at the same time, like you said, research what you want to go into. Don't just get a college degree thinking that if I have a college degree, I'm going to get a job, because I'm going to tell you right now, people want experience.
I've got an even better radical thought. Don't go to college, kids. Just
trade
don't.
school.
Thank you. Go to trade school. Learn how to weld. Learn how to fix cars. Learn how to cook, for Christ's sake.
Yeah,
Learn the stuff that's always going to be there. And you'll never... You'll hate your job, but you'll never have a one.
Well, but
not necessarily. Sometimes you can take off and do something with it. I mean,
Yeah,
you can go to chef school, get really good at it, start your own business, and boom, you're a millionaire.
course.
It happens all the time.
Most definitely. I mean, I've worked in kitchens that
interrupt you
people
there.
could just dream of, to work in, and it's my favorite jobs I've ever had was being in the kitchen. That's my trade.
So basically, I think here's one thing, and I was listening to Joe Rogan one time talk about this, but I think this is true. The crazier things get, they tend to level off. So in other words, all of this fervor on this free, and then what Trump seems to be a little extreme at sometimes. I think people look for sanity at. Like, they don't like the chaos. I think it's fun to watch from afar, but when it starts affecting their lives in a real way, they start looking for some kind of leveled off.
Why do we want more chaos?
Yeah, and that's the thing is I think it's fun to watch, but when it starts, like I said, when it starts getting involved with our lives. So I think sometimes when things like free, everybody really knows, and if you don't, I'm telling you, it's not possible for it to be free. It's just not. So when they're telling you that, it's a lie. What they're trying to say to you is, I can't make it free, and you should know this, but I'm going to try to make it more affordable. I'm going to make this one of the things I work on, and that's fine. But my thing is do something I put it this way, and I've always been a proponent of this. Do something you love in life, and then you don't work, and that's a truth. That's a true story.
Here's a crazy idea. How do we make stuff more affordable? Let's go with the same ideal of truck driving school. We'll cover your first 2 years, but you finish off your bachelor's with this college. Sign this piece of paper. Now, truck driving school is we'll cover your driving school. You work for us for a year. Sign this piece of paper. Why can't we do something like that?
Well, I mean, I think there's all kinds
There's
of things.
so many branch programs in local colleges and the 2-year colleges. Why not have the branch programs just expand a little?
I mean, I think there's a lot of things that can be done. That's what I'm saying is I think just what like you were doing right there and what we're doing here, I think that colleges and hospitals and healthcare systems need to have citizen advisory boards where people that are dealing with healthcare issues, that have family members that are deep in debt, can sit down with these people that set the pricing and mandate certain things. Of course, how recently healthcare was law. I was flabbergasted that this country actually accepted that. We'll force you into having it, and I'm fine with making things more affordable, but I don't want anybody telling me I have to do something, and then making it against the law. You've got to pay. You've got to pay X amount or get fined if you didn't have it. So I'm glad that was taken care of. So
it's just a sad time whenever people are going into the medical field because it's going to be lucrative and not because they want to help people. You know what I mean? Like,
very much so.
Isn't it? And this could be wrong. I'm actually asking. Isn't a lot of times the argument when people are talking about free? I don't know about free college, but like free healthcare specifically, isn't the argument more about redirecting tax dollars? Because like our military, for example, like we spend $500 billion annually, and like the next highest country I think is China, and they spend 81. So like, is a lot of the argument redirecting tax dollars that are going to?
But also look where our military is.
So
as far above.
Well, no. So this is a good point. So. The budget, this last budget by Trump was like $788 billion for the military. Okay, I'm gonna write that number down. The next biggest military is if we're talking about cost wise, you've got China and Russia are pretty close to each other. Now, China is what I call a regional or a self-identified military, meaning China's not going to invade anybody. No. They're a hermit society, basically. They trade openly on the market, but they're still communist. So China's not looking to invade anybody. When we talk about China, it's always about financial things.
Of course.
Now, Russia is always a Russian bear. They're always involved in stuff, and they're always around the world. So when it comes to reallocation of funds, like this country, the problem with it is this country became this country. The strength that we have is because our military is strong. And what is being proposed by some on one side of the aisle is, yes, let's move tax dollars around from one thing to another. And what they're not mentioning to is, and not only are you going to cripple the military, and Obama was doing that, and so did Clinton, but they're not only crippling the military, but you have to take money from other social programs. You have to. There's no way you could do it. In fact, to get this going, like for example, if you did, say for example, you did the Obamacare, they had to take money, and this is what's bad is you have to take money from Social Security, from Medicaid. This Medicaid program becomes a non-essential when you have Obamacare. So the problem with the healthcare situation and education is the price tag has been estimated around $30 trillion for a free college and a free healthcare thing. It's up $35 trillion. And you could either, here's Colt, you can either, hey, come in here, I got to ask you something.
He can hear you.
I think he read his lips.
What are you, my magpie? Hey, I need to talk to you in a second. Yeah. But I think the problem with reallocating funds is you're never going to have enough.
Yeah.
And even if you took half of the $788 billion for the military, and you knocked it down to $344 billion, you're going to have a much less strong military. We have too much involvement in the world for us to have that small of a budget for military. Now, do I think you can move some money around? Sure, but
if we cut the tax breaks for like large corporations, do you think that would make a big difference, or do you still not think that would make sense?
If there's two things that are being proposed. They're going to tax the upper 1 or the upper 5% X amount more, right? Some are saying 60 to 70%, which is asinine, because the people that have that financial level are the ones that own companies and create jobs. And then they're also talking about moving money around from one thing to another, and then, like you said, the tax breaks for big corporations. Do I think that there's a lot of handshake deals and give us this and give us the sure? I think there's a lot that can be done with that, and so I'm a capitalist that believes in free trade and open markets, but I also think that we need to have some tight reins on how companies do business. So that's what I'm talking about, a balance with things. So if you're going to actually talk about reducing or taking from something else to pay for something else, if you do it reasonably, but the problem is the stuff that they're advocating now with like free college, free healthcare. The problem with it is for them to do that, they're going to have an influx of money from somewhere, and that's the problem. Is even if you tax the top 1%, 70%, that's not even a quarter or an eighth of what you need to pay for these programs. And then their whole thing is, and this is another thing here, well, we got to do something. That's like they say with gun control, got to do something. Well, you could say that about anything. You could say we got to do something about this. Well, sure, but we got to have realistic push. We got to have, we can all sit down from each side of the argument and sit down and say, I'm willing to make concession for this if you're willing to make a concession for this. You can't go around saying free, 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 because capitalists automatically go, whoa. Now you could say to those same capitalists, hey, can we talk about some type of flexibility or some compromise? Most capitalists go, well, what are you thinking? What are you talking about? Let's talk about how it can work. And then if you do that with any programs, whatever it is, most people on both sides. Now you won't see this in Washington because it's got to be it's all this. Mm-hmm. But the truth of the matter, we sit around like we're doing here, and we all want to talk about what can work. For what works for you, what works for me, and I think that's what needs to be done more often, and that's why I think the government stopped listening to us, because now they're doing what they think works, and it's
crazy idea. Channeling my inner AOC here. Why don't we just
leave the table now? What did you just say?
I'm channeling.
You're possessed by AOC.
I'm possessed by AOC. We're just gonna print
just the pretty side.
Yeah, we're just gonna print the 35 trillion that we need.
Just make more money.
We'll just make more.
Yeah, ask Venezuela and Mexico.
It worked for them.
Several places, when you print more money, what happens? That you devalue. That's China does that crap all the time. They devalue their money just to make it easier to trade and easier to use across the market, and that's what we talked about a lot. So, anyway, I don't know that we have an answer for these questions, but the point is I think there is a pathway. I think there's things that we can do. I think we need to go back and look at what happened in the 70s and 80s. When we were coming out of wars and we were coming out of a different time in America when capitalism became a mainstay of this country. What were we doing back then? Where there were less people in college, but we were getting higher quality candidates. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with healthcare. I don't know that the doctors now are better doctors than they were 20 years ago. I think they have more training and more accessibility to better technology. But I think that should make things less expensive. If you're making things easier to identify and easier to fix, they shouldn't cost as much. And that's the problem: is technology and education becomes a business that.
Sorry. I've been up since like 7, dude. Give me a break.
All right, let's move on.
Contagious now.
Right?
Let's move on with the next thing. And this is an interesting subject you guys can talk about. And I'm just going to put the question out: are drugs bad?
No.
So, and you could say recreational or prescribed drugs. My question why I say are drugs bad, because we talk about opioid addiction when Holly Rader came through, and then we talk about when doctors misuse prescriptions, and then we talk about, but
Self-medicating.
yeah, self-medicating, and sometimes we're left with only doing that. But this is a big subject. But I want to simplify it by saying, Jonathan, I don't know if you've ever taken any prescription drugs or used any recreational drugs, but in your mind, are drugs bad?
I think it depends a lot on the definition of drugs, and I don't know. I feel like that's kind of a loaded question. Are drugs bad?
I don't know that I have any questions that aren't loaded.
I mean, I think the criminalization of a lot of drugs does more harm than good. But then, yeah, it just kind of varies with the drug. Like, if you're taking meth or heroin, I think you're probably not doing something good for yourself or anybody else. If you're taking a psychedelic, I don't think that.
So you're going by the effects on society. If a drug affects
I feel like
society,
anything you do, it kind of relates into whether or not it's wrong. A lot of times relates into how it affects other people. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. So should a guy that has a personal amount of, say, cannabis or marijuana, and it's just personal use, and he's on his farm or whatever he's doing, should that guy be prosecuted if he stopped, or should there be some leeway on that?
I don't really think that guy should be prosecuted. I mean, I think the whole criminalization on marijuana has been kind of I just feel like during like the hippie era, it became a main target because it affected a certain, targeting it and criminalizing it affected certain groups of people.
Right.
And so, I mean, no. In my personal opinion, if a guy's on his farm, like that's what I mean. Like, the guy's on his farm, he smokes a joint or something like that, and his thought is, he's not thinking like, I might go rob that gas station in town. It's like, I'm pretty sure I have some Cheerios left. I might run over there and try to eat a bowl.
So it really is. I think drugs are, and this is just putting this in there, drugs themselves are not bad. Not drugs. I think the describing drugs as bad is what they do, what they cause. So I think the legalization of marijuana, if it's done the right way, is good. The only reason that it pisses me off now is because government finally realized, we can get rich off of this.
Yep.
And that's what bothers me about it. And I was
also
saying
realized it back in 1776.
Well, I was saying this back in the mid '80s and early '90s when I was younger. That I had said that the government will legalize it once they realize that, first of all, it's accepted, and secondly, they can tax the crap out of it. And that's what's happened. Since the government now thinks, okay, we can do this. And now there's an actual effective lobby for it, where they're actually in Washington saying, okay, look, here's what the benefits of hemp and marijuana and the CBD, is it CBD or CBD? CBD, the oil and the can. The benefits of that, I mean, there's people that receive many benefits from that stuff, and I think that.
Watched one of the videos of the people that have seizures taking the oil,
Yeah.
and then or the shakes and stuff like that, it's gone.
Yeah, you talk to anyone that's ever used hemp or cannabis in a medical aspect. There's not. I haven't seen anybody that's said it's bad. And so I think we need to be more open-minded and more realistic in this society about the use of drugs.
I think so too, for sure. But I think a lot of it is we're talking about obviously less dangerous drugs. Weed has very little ill effects on the body. Never caused a death ever. You can't overdose on weed. It's a very safe drug. The only thing it's really going to affect is
stock
if you're not
prices
using
of Taco
it
Bell.
right. If you're not using it in moderation. If you're going out of control with weed and all you're doing is sitting around smoking weed all day, then yeah, it's going to have an ill effect on your life because it's all you're doing. I think moderation is key when it comes to that kind of stuff.
I didn't realize, but man, you could go in a room of 100 people and say maybe 40 to 50 of them smoke pot.
Everybody smokes these days.
Yeah.
Everyone's at least tried it.
Yeah, or some form or derivative of it, and that's what I think is ironic. Is you've got grandmas and doctors and lawyers and teachers and all these people that are doing it, hiding it because it's still kind of illegal. And it's not affecting it's not causing them to not pay their bills or to beat up their spouse or to not take care of their children. It's causing them to relieve pain and stress. And that's the thing is we're in this big let's fix it world where we're worried about healthcare. We just talked about healthcare being affordable. Look, why don't we do more to begin with? Let's do more to begin with in healthcare. What alternative medicine is a big thing, and so.
Or even more rehabilitation instead of just do you think, even with meth and heroin, do you think criminalization and putting somebody in prison is the best way to
Definitely not. But my thing is the reason that they get put in prison is because they've seen the terrible things that happen when someone's addicted and they're out there on the street. They see what happens to families and stuff, and that's the problem. Is heroin is not used as a medication. Marijuana
We're
is.
talking about safer drugs.
Yeah.
Start getting into the hard stuff. I do think drugs.
But there are some, and we talked about Joe Rogan earlier, but there are some tests and studies that advocate for the use of psychedelics.
Microdosing, yeah.
Yeah.
Microdosing is phenomenal.
Yeah.
You know, with mushrooms and some of the LSDs or the I know he talked. We mentioned this one other time. That
DMT, dimethyltryptamine.
If it's done the right way and it's used the proper way, and there's certain strict guidelines on it, and of course everybody is different. You've got to know your chemical composition. So that's the other thing is I think that we should have more doctors out in the market that are not only educated in alternative health, but are respected and can be used in coordination with regular doctors to be able to prescribe certain drugs. Because here's my thing. If you just say, hey, I got a bag full of mushrooms, like, oh, but no, I'm microdosing. I'm using it to help my anxiety. I'm using it. Look, we talked about this before, and you've been an advocate of this. Self-medicating, as long as it's done to improve yourself with anxiety and depression and things like that, that's what microdosing does. We talk about microdosing. If you guys, you need to look it up if you guys don't know, but microdosing is done all over the country. It's becoming more and more used now. And the problem,
specifically used in a lot of cases for PTSD.
PTSD. There's videos right now on YouTube and across the line where former military, military vets that were in battle that have these drastic and violent PTSD episodes, they're able to sleep and they're able to comfortably sleep. And sleep is restorative, so these guys that have these PTSDs oftentimes have these night terrors and fears, and they wake up, and this allows them to kind of live in kind of an adjusted world where they're still cognizant of what happened to them, but they're able to kind of deal with it. And look, I'm all for, people finding a way to make themselves feel better, and if that means a little bag of mushrooms or microdosing or marijuana or whatever it is, you're not coming to my house to break into my house, you're not hurting my kids.
Right.
It should be an individualistic society, and that's the problem with drugs is I think you should be able to do whatever drug you want to do. As long as that use of that drug doesn't affect me, meaning you come to work, like, we work together, meaning you're not coming in trying to assault people and you're not stealing and acting, you should be able to have control, be a captain of your own ship. I'm with that in everything. So along with we talked about the other subject with affordable health care and affordable college, I think there should be a lot more governmental studies and a lot more governmental advocation or advocacy for the use of illegal, that we consider illegal drugs.
When you put a blanket, it's illegal over everything, then you can't get government funding to research.
And that's the problem.
Not to mention when is making something illegal ever made it not desirable.
Right. And that's the truth.
I'm a strong supporter of psychotropics.
Talk about what do you mean psychotropics? So
psychotropics are going to be like mushrooms, LSD, stuff like that.
Right.
It really opens up your mind.
So do you, by what you're talking about, you advocate for it, or you really are behind it? What do you know about what it does for a person? Well, let's say microdosing mushrooms. I know I've heard this before because I've heard about personal experience with that. What is your knowledge to that? What is your experience with? Do you know people that have done it?
Hi.
Okay, so you have. So what does it?
Most definitely.
What does it do for you?
So like myself, I have PTSD from my youth. And I also have anxiety. Typically, I just keep talking so I control every situation. But when you're
what?
I know.
When did that start?
It's something new. I'm trying.
Oh, okay, cool. I just wondered. You might think I'm the same way, don't you?
It was last Thursday.
Last Thursday.
Sorry, had to.
No, you're good.
But no, it definitely does help, and it just keeps you at a more of a balance, rather than dreading the constant thoughts that you deal with. You're able to just be more mellow, just ride the wave, if you will. I don't know how else to describe that.
A lot of psychedelics, I know mushrooms and LSD specifically, I'm sure there's more, but I don't know others specifically, but they open up parts of your brain that never communicate. Typically don't communicate, and they all start communicating together, and I feel like has a big effect on why you feel so at one with the world and humanity, and you feel like you understand things that you didn't understand before, because a lot more of your brain is coming together and communicating that.
Hey, will you sit in on a part of this with me?
Right now?
Yeah, bring it in.
For what?
It's a relationship one. I need a female.
But
You don't have to stay on very long.
What's up, man? You come here often?
I'm bribing her.
Yeah.
I got Danielle to come up. Good.
What's up?
So back to the prison thing too.
Yeah.
The chances of you going to prison just for doing a drug are pretty low. It's people that are selling drugs, and it's the repeat offenders that are usually going to prison. If you just get caught using a drug, you're usually not just going to go straight to prison. You know what I mean? Like,
Just clip that
usually
up
people
near the top.
earn that. You know what I mean?
There you go.
Kind of screwing up.
So, welcome Danielle.
Hello, hello.
We're adjusting the camera. Thank you, Jay. Danielle is a close friend of the bar, and I appreciate you. But I really needed a female for some of this, and we had somebody lined up, and I thought, well, I'll bring you up. We're talking about relationships here in a second, so there's a couple things that I really need to have a female to have the initial start, so we can kind of bounce off of that. So, the one thing I do assure, and some guests have been concerned about, I've had 2 guests cancel because they're concerned about their employers and how it'll make them look. We try to not be lean one way or the other. We try to be pretty open-minded about stuff. A lot of people get worried about giving their opinion because they're afraid that it's going to make them look bad. But in this case, this is really just kind of opening up the door on relationships in a different way. So the reason I want to bring you up is you being a woman specifically, you know more about this than me. But guys, we're moving on to our next. In case you guys didn't know.
I was unaware.
Yeah, you're unaware now that I'm talking about it.
Well, here we go.
Yeah, so usually there's a kind of a little introduction phase, but we're going to go right into it. We're talking about relationships, all types. So the first question that I'm going to shoot to you, Danielle, is throughout your life, do you believe that women, through society, through parents, through family members, friends, whatever, are taught to believe that men cheat?
Yes, not through family, but through social media, and I think that when anybody cheats, male or female, it's just like anything else. You hear the worst of before you hear anything that's good. So before I hear my friends talk about what a great relationship they have or how happy they are with their partner or their spouse, I think that we tend to hear all the negative stuff first. So I think that it's, or more. So I think that that's out there more than, positive relationship things.
This is why I wanted to have a woman up here.
Sorry, I'll drink on that. That was close
I know,
enough.
see how she just concise,
Shouldn't
man.
drink so much.
So concise. But
That's
the
a
reason
great
I asked
response.
this question is I went online, I did some research, and I've done some reading on it, is they do some psychological studies, and they ask women about this a lot because traditionally it's men that are the accused, and they actually do cheat more than women do. But there's also now, it's almost evened up now. There's almost as much many women cheating as men, and so I was just interested in, I know that me, as I grew up, I'm 50 years old, so I'm the oldest person at the table, but I have heard my entire life through, like you said, social media and through just in general, where that's just kind of a common accepted thing in the world where, men are cheaters and men kind of wander, and we're very physical creatures, so we think with our sexual thoughts all the time, and that's true. But
God created man with a brain and a penis, but only enough blood to use one at a time.
exactly, that's true. And so, like me, I've never cheated. I never. I don't know if what the word would be, felt the need to, or thought it out, or sought it out, whatever. I don't know what it is to cheat, because I feel like when you're in a relationship with somebody, that's what you're doing. You're in a relationship. Right. But I was interested if it's something that, like you said, through social media, and I'd like to break that down a little bit and kind of cover that a little as we get into toxicity and things about relationships. But you having friends, and I want you to jump in too, but have you ever been a victim of being cheated on? Mm-hmm. Okay. And you've had friends, I guess, obviously, that have been. What about you guys? You've all known somebody? See, this is the thing, was it mainly men cheating on women? Or
No, it was my ex. I walked in on him in bed.
Right, now see,
I've been cheated on a lot.
yeah, I'm the same way. So I'm wondering, and this is a good thought, is are certain types of guys cheated on more than others? Because I know I was raised in a female household. I had a mom and a sister, right. So I got a lot of the female standpoint on things. So I was always told, honor women and respect them and everything. So I just assumed, you don't cheat. But this is a little secret. I've been married 4 times. I don't know if anybody knew that or not. I'm on my 4th marriage. My wife now is a saint. She married me in spite of all that. But my 3 exes all cheated on me, every one of them. And the marriage was bad before it, but that was just kind of the cap of everything, the tip top of it all. And so I've only seen, now I've heard and I've seen other guys do it, but I've only heard of women cheating on men because I was the victim of that, and you were too. But I kind of want to unpack this a little bit. This moves on to the next thing is, what's the difference between why women do it and why men do it? And I want to kind of open that up real quick because it's interesting. Jonathan, I'll go to you. You're a young guy in college and you're in a committed relationship. And I'm sure, I'm not going to ask personal stuff, but in your life, have you ever cheated?
I've never cheated, no.
Okay. In your mind, and I'm sure maybe you know some guys that have, what do you think is the reason most guys cheat?
I don't want to reach too far and kind of speak. A lot of friends of mine that I've had cheat, I've noticed in a lot of cases, it is a mindset going into the relationship where they're not. I think a lot of times they're not. It's not like, oh, they're super committed, but then something starts happening, and then they're not getting satisfied in this or this area, so then they lead to it. Like most guys that I know that have ended up cheating, it was something I could have really called when the relationship was first starting out, just the way he would talk about the girl.
Yeah.
It was just I don't know exactly how you're feeling about this person. Touching kind of on what you said about you feel like a lot of times people share the negative stories more than they'll share positive stuff that's going on. I think that's interesting because I feel like that's a huge psychological aspect of our society in general, because Facebook, it's come to light. They've admitted that they will try to really make sure if there's a big argument going on, they'll make sure that you see it because they want you to get involved in it, because rage makes people want to get involved more than anything else. It's like the thing, if you go to a restaurant that you really, really like, I think on average you'll tell 1 to 2 people, and if you go to a restaurant and you have a terrible experience, on average you'll tell 6 to 8 people or something like that. Things that make people angry, they're much more likely to share. And I feel like that's kind of interesting because that might build perceptions about different genders and who might cheat more or less. I wanted to comment on that, but no, to answer your question, yeah, I think a lot of times it is a mindset going into a relationship. In most cases that I've seen, it's not something that develops throughout. It's that they were not very committed in the first place. They saw it as an option going in.
So kind of what you're saying is, the guys that you knew that have cheated, they wanted to be in a relationship, but they didn't want to have to do all the things it took to be in a relationship.
Yeah, they wanted a relationship without all the commitment. It was just
So, real quick, sorry, Christy ended up saying women probably do it because of some sort of lack of emotional fulfillment in their current relationship.
Now, this is true. Now, I was going to go to you on this, Danielle.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also think that men do it just because they have some void in their relationship. It doesn't have to necessarily be sexual. It could be anything, but that's how they react to anything that is missing or lacking in their relationship, is to look outside, and that's what they do.
So do you? I know men. So women are emotional, men are physical. This is a scientific thing. I know that from personal experience that my wife is an emotional. She has to be emotionally connected, and if a woman doesn't feel emotionally connected, they don't feel as sexual.
Yep.
It's kind of when you're in it, and this is, I'm not talking about just an average, one night stand. I'm talking about a committed relationship. So I think that's a good point. What did you say, Christy said that? Hey, did Christy say that? Who was it that said
Christy.
that?
Yeah, Christy.
Okay.
Sorry, Carrie and Christy are both commenting now. That's why I got
They're going back.
distracted.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to snap.
Yeah,
at
I
you,
mean, I'm
but
not going to
like-
step outside my relationship to cheat on my boyfriend or fiance or husband for any other reason unless I'm not getting the emotional needs met. And probably I wouldn't do that anyways. I would end the relationship if my emotional needs aren't being met.
Right.
But I think that men are different, and maybe they won't end the relationship because I don't want to not have all the other stuff that comes along with.
Do you think that all women feel that way? Like, I would never cheat, but then they do, and they're like, okay. My thing is, I don't think it's as common for women to sit around and talk about, I did this guy, I did that guy. Guys do that kind of stuff. Now, I've never been that kind of guy. Like, I don't like kissing and telling. I never have done that. It's just kind of in poor taste.
It's funny you're saying this because that's literally what Carrie just typed.
Did she?
Yeah. She's
Yeah,
like,
I mean, you will with your close girlfriends, but you're not going to sit down and have a conversation with semi-strangers or just
Joe Schmo
You know,
at the
So
bar.
have you ever had a conversation with any, and you don't have to say any names or anything, but in your entire life, any talk with any of your female friends, they cheated? Mm-hmm. And what kind of, can you, without going into detail, but can you kind of let us know kind of how that came, like, what did they say was the reason they did or what happened?
For a couple of my friends that did, it was because they thought their boyfriend or husband was cheating on them, or they found out that they had been talking to a female.
Okay, so it was spurred on by
so
as
it's
a
kind
reaction.
Of
Okay, so like almost like a revenge.
Yep.
So that's the other thing I wanted to ask. I
think is terrible.
Now I've always felt this, and maybe it's because of movies or entertainment or whatever, but I always felt that women revenge screw more than men do.
Absolutely.
And they are almost like, that's why they.
And it never gets them the result that they want.
Well, no,
they just wind up
that's why
farther
you
in
hear
the
about
shit.
like bridesmaids hooking up with best men, or bridesmaids hooking up with someone's best friend. You know, these kind of weird stories. But I always kind of know that because that would be, to me, would be emotional. That would be like, okay, cheating to a woman is a attack against a connection of emotional connection, and so it's a violation. It's a serious, like, how could you guys? It's kind of like, nah.
Oh, there's a whole.
Whoa.
Yeah, but I also do, kind of going back to what you were saying too, I think that there are more women out there cheating because we've been shown that, 20 years ago, if you cheated on your spouse would leave you. That would be the end of your relationship.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I can cheat on my spouse or my significant other as many times as they will take me back.
That's
and they
true.
can cheat on me as many times as I will take them back, right? So there's a different stigma, if you will, about it now, and I think that's why more people are cheating, both male and female.
I wonder. I mean,
No.
you guys, do you think because
I want to touch on this real quick.
Yeah.
Just real quick. Do you think that because we're such an over-sex society now that sex is such a big deal? It's like in everything that we see, it's all over the place.
Yeah,
that
I also think
so
it's
much-
not a big deal because it's not something that
I
happens
think it's
between.
less important. And
Yeah,
less
most
personal.
definitely.
It's just
Yeah,
like,
it
oh,
used to
this
be
is
way
kinda
more
like-
important, right? Our connection physically between a committed man and woman, or man,
Was
man,
something
woman,
that was
woman.
based off an emotional connection.
Yeah,
between
and
two
it was
people.
special and it
now
meant
it's not.
something, and now it's more like
That's completely devalued.
Yeah, now you're trying to. Well, and a lot of times I think people are trying to find their value in somebody else.
You're right.
What were you going to say?
So she mentioned on whether or not how many times he'll take her back, how many times she'll take him back, so on and so forth. I mean, and myself, I was in a whirlwind of toxicity for the 6.5 years of my past relationship, and that was the thing. Like I worked 3 jobs. I came in after an 18-hour day. Here's some dude we went to school with, and my girl in my bed in my house. That I mean, I paid the bills.
It was all your fault, Zach.
It was.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny you say
I
that.
know, right? That's what that was the reasoning,
That's
right?
what I was told.
You're never here.
And my dumbass, I looked at him, I'm like, all right, kids, you have fun, I got to go to work. And I went and slept at my fucking store.
Well, no. You were better off doing that than what other people do. Yeah.
My alternative was someone's going through a wall.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And that's what,
Like,
you don't want that.
So, like, for me, it's easier to walk away. Now, you know, we had our talk about it, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not really about this situation.
Well, what was
here.
the talk? Be specific. So, in other words, is this okay with you? Are you willing to be a part of this?
No, but my talk was a lot of colorful terminology for, women,
Okay.
if you will. And, I told her, get the fuck out of my house.
Now, were you mad at the guy?
Not really.
I feel like in a lot of those cases, you can't be as mad at the guy because it's like, yeah, I could
I
have
would.
expected you'd stab me in the back, but you.
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
If you don't know the guy.
I knew this cat from high
If
school.
it feels like a personal attack, then you could probably get
Yeah, like
mad.
if
Like,
it
it's your
was
best
somebody,
friend, like-
if it was somebody that knew you and knew your relationship, had been in your house or knew you, that's way more offensive than if it's just some rando and you walk in and you're like,
Right.
who's this?
Like, I
Dude's
knew
like,
this
good
cat from high
luck.
school.
Yeah.
For me personally.
Yeah.
And they apparently met back up at some sort of business or whatever. I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
And so like him, I already expected that type of shit out of him. But her, I mean, there's a lot of time there, man.
Yeah.
There was a lot of time.
Yeah.
And to walk into that, I mean, I think I did this probably about 5 times. Where I'm like, no, it's fine. Come on back. Here's the house. Yeah, whatever. do what you do.
So the kind of all of this, and this is what's cool about this topic, is so many of the things about relationships can all go together, right? We could break it down into sub-talks. So in other words, so this is where I'm going to go. You kind of mentioned this a little bit ago about there was one time people would do this and now they do this. Relationships are different now. Marriage is still marriage. I sometimes DJ weddings. So I see people get married and the start and the beauty of I'm in love and all this. And the one thing I've noticed in my marriage is you have to find a point of happiness where you are now comfortable with each other to the fact that your friends, your companions, you can talk about a lot of stuff. You got to be comfortable, and each of you have to have your own life. So the way I think relationships are different now is that it's a throwaway society. I think it's easy for us to just throw something away and move on to the next, because dating websites, because society and in general, like we talked about, the internet tells us, hey, there's somebody else out there. There's a dating site called Plenty of Fish. So my thing is nothing wrong with dating sites. I'm just saying I think it's so easy to on to the next one, another one. It's so easy to step into that next dating pool that it's easy for us to sometimes go, oh, you're not meeting what I want, and so what I want to put out, I'll go to Cody, is what have you noticed? You're in a relationship, or I'll let you handle what you. But have you noticed through your relationship that you were in, and then before that, have you noticed how things have changed, and what have you noticed?
I think dating's a lot different now. I don't think people date the same way they used to.
How is that?
Because back in the day, I hate using that term, but we didn't have text messaging. We didn't have, you could call them and things like that, but to go and be with that person, you had to meet them out somewhere. You had to go on a date. You actually had to take them out on a date to communicate. And now you don't have to do that. You can fall in love with somebody over a phone. You know what I mean? It's a completely different way of becoming involved with somebody.
He's talking about our relationship.
And there's so much pressure that's put on people when they meet that way, where I'm putting my profile out there for you to swipe this or that, or to text with me, that I'm really giving you the best of everything that I have from that first encounter. And then all I'm going to do from then is probably let you down, because you're going to see the real me in a couple of dates, if I make it that long.
If you have to meet somebody in person, it's the same as getting into an argument online. If you don't have to deliver upon what you're presenting, then you don't have to feel bad about it.
Yeah, and if I don't have to argue with you face to face, and I can do it like this,
Even when you do, even when it is over text, or if it is in person, I feel like a problem a lot of people get whenever they cheat is that people expect that they are going to stay in the honeymoon phase forever. Right. When you start dating a person and you do not stay in the honeymoon phase, it is physically, it's impossible. The chemicals will not keep pumping for that long. So you get into a point where it's you realize whether or not you guys actually have a commitment. And I think people
blossom into something
and then
bigger
there's not a base a lot of the times when you get through that.
Head over heels feeling you get when you first fall in love.
But that's what I mean. I feel like some people get so addicted to that head over heels feeling that even though they start building, a commitment to a person, they get to a point where they're like, but this isn't how it was. We were so in love at the beginning, and then so they start looking, there's a girl at their work, or there's a guy at their work, and they start meeting them, and it's like, this is how it felt at the beginning. Maybe this is it.
Part of it is, I think there is no one way to do it. There's no roadmap of successful relationship. I do know that the couples that are married 40 and 50 years, they all kind of say the same stuff. You got to communicate. Communication's number one. You gotta realize, trust. You gotta realize that this is something you gotta put work into. And I think a lot of people don't understand is relationships, whether it's a male, female, whatever the relationship is, interpersonal, it takes work. You can't be in a friendship or a relationship unless you put effort out. The people that don't put effort out don't have friends. They don't have relationships because they end up alone. And so we were speaking of communication. My wife and I will text each other in the house. I'll be in the living room, she in the bedroom, or downstairs or whatever, and we'll text each other. And sometimes we flirt with each other that way. Hey, what are you doing? I don't know. What are you doing? Why don't you come find out? That kind of stuff. And so you can use it for good ways. And I know my wife and I, we have to caution ourselves about becoming too non-communicative, because it really is kind of,
it's a disconnect.
It can be a disconnect if you use it the right way and you make it into a fun thing, and it can be fun, but it really is. It's a disconnect. But
Before we, sorry.
No.
Before we move on to the next one, I want to touch on one more thing of cheating too. I think you're a lot more likely to cheat on somebody if you've never been cheated on yourself. Once you know what that feels like, once you know that hurt, that it's really hard to do that to somebody else and not with that guilt. Like,
That's very true. That's
rough.
a great point.
And that is a great point. And I think, so as we're talking about relationships, just male, female, or committed relationships, male, female, whatever it is, if you experience some type of damage from somebody, what you're saying is you're less likely to want to do that to somebody else, unless you become conditioned and it becomes something that just like abuse. Abuse gets transferred in relationships through generations, and sometimes when you're
this
taught,
is how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, when you're taught that abuse is how it is, that I've found this from dating. I've dated several women that only wanted dysfunction. They only wanted toxicity. They couldn't function with health. They functioned, that had to be something wrong all the time, so it was constant turmoil. And I would say, why do we always have to be this way? And my thing is I think that this society, and I think people in general, have started thriving on dysfunction and toxicity. And not just in committed relationships, but I think in friendships. Sometimes we feel like we want to help people. We want to be that hero and that savior of somebody. So we look for people. Yeah, we look for people because then you feel like you did something like with your life. It's like, oh, I fixed Jonathan the other day. He was having a hard time, and I got in the middle of his dysfunction and toxicity, and I fixed this. And I think this society has taught us that because in our misguided attempt to make somebody feel better, to help somebody, we throw ourselves into it, and then we become codependent on toxicity. It's crazy, and I see it in the bar all the time. I see people in the bar all the time that include themselves in toxic stuff, and I'm constantly like, what are you doing? Stay out of that. Like, why are you... Yeah, and it's frustrating to me because I want nothing to do with it because I've seen it too much. So, Zach, with your life and the interesting, I always say that with your life, Zach.
The shit show you live,
the world that you created. I'm sure with interpersonal relationships with you were not only were they eventful, but you being kind of like me, you kind of had to learn a lot on your own on how to be not only in committed relationships, but to know what love and affection and real friendship was with people, because when you get screwed over a bunch and the people that you think love you crap on you and cheat on you and abuse you and make you feel like you're less than valuable, it's really easy to kind of exist that way.
Yep.
And in my end, I was wanting to be the victim because I thought, especially with females, if I was the victim, then they were taking it out on me and I could be their sponge and somehow I would save them. Somehow I would make it better, right? So in your life, in your relationships, what did you find yourself doing?
So I found myself just preemptively like getting it ready for failure.
Yeah, see, that's a good point.
I'm fresh in a relationship now. I'm in a relationship. Sweet girl, really is. I've known her for the better part of a decade. So she already knows whatever fucked up shit I could say. She's already heard it. I promise you that. But in the same sense, just because of...
You only need about 30 minutes with you to realize there's a whole catalog of effed up things you say.
It's
part of why you're endearing.
It is,
We know what to expect from Zach.
You're not wrong. So, like, it's delightful right now, I mean, it's a new relationship. You got someone to talk to. Oh, here's what I did.
She pays a lot of attention to you.
Yeah.
She's very attentive.
She is very attentive. But in the same sense, that being said, just because of learned behavior, conditioned behavior, I'm already ready.
Well, and no, that's a great point. I'll put it over to everybody else. But the first time in my life that I didn't go in with preconceived expectations was when I married my wife now. We've been married for 13 years, been 14 years together. I think that's why we have been successful. I didn't go into that relationship, even though I had moments of weakness, like, oh, this is going to fail, this is going to screw up, I screw up everything, or nothing ever works around me. I remember my wife looking at me and saying to me, like, took my hand and looked in my face, and she goes, hey, look at me. She goes, I'm not like everybody else. I know where you're coming from. I get it. I'm here with you. that told me a lot about her as a person, and she's never let that down. I've
And
never
you break down some of your walls once you realize.
and that's exactly right. Because my walls were like yours; they were broken down, but they were rebuilt in a really screwed up pattern, and nobody could get through them. And so for anybody to climb through that, they had to make me, they had to parkour. They had to make me realize, and that's what Melissa did, my wife. She had to make me realize that there was something else. You don't have to have dysfunction and sadness. So to your point, sometimes we go into stuff with preconceived, this is going to screw up, and that is a terrible way, folks. And so this is kind of, as we move on through this, is if you are beginning a relationship, or if you're thinking about it, if you're on the horizon looking around, whatever, you have to go in with not only an open mind but an open heart, and you got to understand that there's a lot of other people out there like you that are looking for the same stuff you are. And if you go in with these preconceived thoughts about what's going to happen or what you think is going to happen, it's going to happen because you're going to make sure it happens.
Yeah, you'll seek it out.
Yeah, your codependency, and I was codependent for years. I was codependent on people that I thought I could save. I needed that to make myself feel fulfilled, and that's negative and sucky to be that way, but that's the way I was. And so the first time in my life with my wife, it's healthy because she didn't need me, she wanted me for who I was. And I realized, I'm kind of a screwed up individual, I'm broken down, and here I am. And we talked about this, about everything's good at first. Our first date at Red Lobster, I took her to lunch at Red Lobster. I know, because I'm that kind of guy.
Daddy Warbucks.
That's right. Well, I told her, and it's Cape, so we didn't have the top of the mark. We didn't have the top of the mark at the time, but 14 years ago, I said to her, what's your favorite restaurant? She said, Red Lobster. I said, we're going there for lunch tomorrow. So I picked her up, I brought her, and the first date, most women would have been like, and run out. But she sat there and listened to the whole thing. I told her about me within about 10, 15 minutes. I told her everything. Married and divorced 3 times. Bankruptcy. I have 2 kids from another woman. I basically broke myself down and laid myself on that lobster or whatever we were eating. I said, here I am, and if you still want me to talk to you after this, if you still want to date me after this, we could probably move forward. And I did. I tried to run her off by telling her all of the negative crap about me, and she was like, okay, I'm here. I was like, oh wow, maybe I got somebody. And it's true. It's proven out, and it's made me come full circle. Well, full circle would be not correct because that would be repeating what I was doing. 180. Thank you. I just saw it on Facebook. Yeah. Can't do a 360. You got to be a 180 because 360 means you're going to be doing the same crap. So it's so true, but that's true. So speaking of what you said, but Danielle, in your relationships, your life, you're a busy lady. You're professional. You run a business. And you have such a good spirit. We've had lots of nice conversations in here and stuff. You don't actively look for relationships. You're just Danielle, and you just go about your life, but you're not opposed to it, obviously. But I would think whoever you dated or whoever you decided to give that time to probably has to be a certain kind of person. Am I correct? Like you need to see certain things. Like, first of all, are you okay on your own? Is that something that you look for?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
As a chicken lady, I do stay busy.
I don't usually say where people work at. I leave that up to them. So if you want to say say what you run, it's fine.
Yeah,
but
I run Wings,
etc. out by the malls. Okay.
And yeah, that keeps me busy. But I was in a serious relationship for 10 years, and I'm not going to divulge the end of it because it's pretty nasty. But that damaged me for quite some time. But I also come from a family where no one is divorced. My parents were married in 74, still married.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
All of my aunts on my dad's side, all my aunts and uncles on my mom's side, still married. So
that just means when you do decide that you found the one, you're probably locked
there's
in.
only one.
Yeah.
And I've seen how the kids in my family were raised with 2 loving parents in a home, and struggled through this or that, but and what happens in those relationships, and that's part of what I want for myself. And I know I have crazy high standards, but you're not going to find me on a dating site.
You just want healthy.
There's nothing wrong with having high standards.
You got it.
You're not going to find me on a dating site because I'm not going to, like I was saying, put the best in me out there and just hope that I'm good enough for somebody. If I'm not good enough for you to meet in the supermarket, then I'm just not going to do that.
I can't
Yeah.
believe you're single. You're an amazing person.
I can't believe I am either, but
But here we are.
First of all, you work at an amazing
got a lot of
restaurant
damage that I
that
carry
has
along
great
with me,
food.
too. Well, yeah.
So there's that.
And an amazing staff. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
And she's funny.
Shout out.
She's funny and loves driving fast in cars. She's an awesome girl.
Yeah.
I
Danielle
mean,
is partially responsible for why I have a decent work ethic.
she's an amazing.
thank you, Cody.
You're welcome.
I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Did you work for her?
Yeah.
Where?
Logan's.
No shit. Well, did you manage there?
Yes, for 11 years.
So you're telling me you weren't always chicken lady?
Sometimes I was
She
a
was
steak lady.
What's
She was
up?
Where's the beef? Danielle.
It's in the meat room.
in the meat
But to answer your question, yeah, I mean, and the longer that I do stay single and am independent and take care of my own shit, that's more that I look for that in somebody else too.
Right.
Because I've had those relationships when I was younger that I was the one who was the responsible one and the provider, and
So
I
that
can handle
brings
my
up,
own. You need to handle your own.
Yeah, that brings up a good point. We learn how to be healthy in relationships from what we grow up with, and that's why, like with mine, I don't know about yours or your childhood, which you can maybe divulge a little bit, but
How much time do we have left?
well, not your whole childhood, but as far as interpersonal relationships, because I didn't want this just to be dating. I wanted to talk about our familial relationships, our brothers and sisters, and our aunts and uncles and moms and dads. I grew
Mom
up.
says she loves you.
Love you, Mom.
I grew up
Daniel's
in
been
a.
one of my favorite guests we've had on here, period. So
I grew up
Yeah.
in a broken home. You know, I had a single mom, and then I was at my grandparents' house a lot, and I saw a lot of arguments and stuff like that. Although I knew everybody loved each other, right? So I knew I didn't want that. So I did grow up a little gun shy when it came to emotional stress. I didn't handle stress very well with the opposite sex, because I kind of thought, well, if they're yelling at me, they're mad at me, so I must be terrible. That's the way I thought. And so in my interpersonal relationships in my family, that kind of charted my course when it came to who I was when I got older and started dating and started developing in adult relationships. And I don't have you might imagine, I don't have a lot of friends, if you can imagine that. The ones I do have are tried and true, and there's very few of them, but they love me for who I am in spite of who I am, and they accept me for who I am. And I think maybe sometimes it takes someone that's a little stronger and more adjusted than you are to kind of bring you up. And so, my friend Sean in St. Louis is one of those guys. He always just kind of had things figured out. He just was one of those guys. And I think I gravitated towards him more than any other friend, because I guess in a way was emotionally using him to make myself a little stronger, because he never seemed to be bothered by anything. Either.
I mean, if he wasn't bothered by it, then you weren't using him. You were learning
I'm
from him.
I'm
I mean, you can't.
I'm sure he was at some
If you're
point.
using
He probably
somebody
like,
that's kind of looked at it in a negative light, but if somebody's building you up and is willing to put forth that effort, then that's not being used. That's helping somebody get better. You know what I mean? So
Sure,
Yeah.
well, and that's a positive example that you saw. Like you were saying, you had a list of I don't wants going into friendships or romantic relationships.
Yeah.
Where I had a list of goals that I want to be like mom and dad or aunt and uncle or things
Yeah.
like that. So I didn't walk in with the same.
Do you think it makes
list
it hard?
as
Do you
you
think it
do.
makes it harder for you?
Fuck yeah.
Because you
Are
have
you
a
kidding
list.
me?
Yeah, I see. That's the thing is maybe I should have had more of a list and been more picky, because I just looked for somebody that was like needy.
Yeah, but I mean, you were
was like,
saying that,
oh,
that
wait,
your upbringing
you have a child?
created your list.
You're a single mom and you have a child and you live in housing and
You seem obsessed with me after the first
you
time. we
really
hung out.
like
This
me
is
and,
it.
and you think I'm awesome and you said I'm cute. Oh, let's get married. Like it was like that, So, Zach, your relationship now. You were you said a relationship before that for 6 years.
Yeah,
and
6
the girl
and a half,
cheated on
yeah.
you. So, what about your life, your interpersonal relationships growing up? And I know that you kind of met your family throughout your life, because you didn't know them all at once.
Correct.
Because you were in the system for a while. So as you met your family and you started to get to know them, you started, I'm sure, identifying things about each one that kind of meant something to you and then helped kind of define you. But you're kind of a man kind of that formed himself, kind of. so to
Ultimately.
speak. So do you think that's made it harder on you?
I think it has. I mean, I've seen relationships from every aspect. Living in the state custody and everything, we've seen it in where he beats me because he loves me, to like I'm a strong, independent person. I don't need no man. To the other way around, I'm a strong, independent person. I don't need no woman. Yeah, and I've seen it in all ways. Now, when I finally started meeting my family, I realized I don't even think they're my family,
Why?
We're so far apart.
So you're the family that is your blood,
my bloodline,
your biological family that you've met here throughout the last few years. How are you different from them?
So so my family is actually a product of my biological is a product of divorce. So the family's split. Now I fit in more so with my mother's side. It's her family that I actually don't know any Mazades.
So let's hold on. I want to unpack something real quick because we hear this all the time. I'm always interested what people think a product of divorce or a product of abuse. So let's kind of look at that. I know people think they have a surface definition, but I really want to lay that out. So product of divorce, and I was too. You were too? Okay. So that leaves us with a certain kind of mark or stigma, right? We're a child of divorce. Product would mean that we're developed in a certain way, like we're kind of developed. So do you think that when you face divorce as a child, right? Because the child looks at it from what happened, what did I do, what could I have done different, why is this happening, why is this, there's a lot of questions, a lot of doubt. So you being a product of divorce, so were me, anybody else? You weren't, obviously. A product of divorce, what did that mean for you? Because I think there's some people out there that might
my parents were married. My extended family was blended, if you will. So my mom's mom ended up divorcing my mom's dad and marrying her stepdad. That's how I know the family. My cousin, he sings down here. I mean, that's my step cousin. All that. That's all step family. So that's my knowledge of the divorce system. Now, I also had a very interesting mother-father dynamic there. My dad lived his life and my mom lived hers. My mom lived hers by the book.
Okay, that's interesting. I always believe that each person in a relationship, you have to have your together relationship, and you have to have your relationship when you're apart. In other words, you have to be your own person. Yeah. I don't know about you, but I would think one of your criteria is the person that you fall in love with and commit yourself to for that kind of relationship probably has to be pretty strong and be independent. Am I correct?
Yeah, I think that if you're going to get into a relationship and kind of like morph into your partner, you have to have your own identity.
Yeah.
In a relationship or outside of a relationship, because you will lose yourself in that other person.
Begging to be codependent in a year.
Do you find that men find that a little threatening sometimes? Maybe that if a woman is very independent and strong, because I notice on Facebook, and I say Facebook because we're live, Facebook Live, but I notice a lot of women on Facebook that are choosing to be single right now. It's because a lot of men are threatened by who they are, and I think independent women are amazing. I think independent, strong. My wife doesn't need me. She might miss me a little bit, but she'd be fine without me. Now I'm the father of her children now, but my wife needs nothing from me, literally. She's successful, smart, doesn't need me. She wants me. So I talked to you guys about this. In your I'm not going to say quest, but in your life for your one day hope, finding someone, is that person needs to be, as you said, when you start dating and you start finding each other and you have your lives together, you want to be able to see what they are as themselves. You want to see them with their friends. You want to see them with their family. You want to see them on their own. So can I vibe with that? Because there has to be. You don't want to marry a racist, obviously. What do you do in your free time? Oh, I go to KKK meetings, and I'm like, look, you're hot, and I think we get along, but I can't live with that.
Get on board with that.
We have some fun-shaped bonfires.
Yeah, those are funny. Move on. Jonathan, we haven't said much to you, but I'm going to bring you in on this next one because I think I find this interesting because I see this with you and your girlfriend just kind of the few times I've seen you. Is it possible for men and women to really be friends? Now, let me define this a little more for you, and let me add to that. Should your significant other be your best friend? So what I mean by can you be friends is there's obviously male relationships, and then there's female, and then there's male-female. The reason I ask that is I haven't had too many girls that I've been friends with that I haven't thought sexually. I'm a guy. I'm just being real. I'm not saying that there's some girls that I don't look at as sisters that don't look at them sexually, but I see a woman, and being a male, I see what they look like. So before I met my wife, and I had some female friends. I don't have female friends now because I just don't. I'm just too busy and I don't. But I have a couple people that I think identify as acquaintances. I don't think about them like that now because of where I'm at in my life. But at one point, it was hard for me to have female friends because I'll be honest, if I were sitting somewhere with Danielle and we were single and we were having a drink and drinks kind of get it going, she's an attractive woman. She's smart, intelligent. I would be like, hey, what's up? You want a kiss? You know, I wouldn't say that, but I'm just saying, like, I would be interested. So in your case,
So smooth.
I know, right? What's up? Want to smooch my face? But in your case, I know. Let's speak just briefly about that. Are you friends with your girlfriend?
Yeah, I do think when you're asking though about specifically, did you say should you be best friends? Or
Yes. Should your significant other, the person that you've chosen a relationship with, should they be your best friend?
I think they should be one of your best friends, but I kind of use the term best friend loosely because I feel like you can have several. It just kind of means a great friend, and like if you're not a great friend with your significant other, that's definitely a problem.
So that's interesting. So I tell my daughters a lot, you can only have one best friend because best means the first. But what you're saying is best is now defined more as a great friend or someone that's close to you.
I use it very loosely.
I
It's
do
just
too.
like
I'm the
I've got a
same way.
lot
I
of
have-
best
I have
friends, and
six
it's just
best friends,
yeah,
for
it's
sure.
just like you're one of the
I
best
do, I
friends
really
I've
do.
had. Like, you're one of the
Who's your
closest
bestest? Who's your bestest?
I'm not dropping any names. I'm not a war here. Jesus.
It's Levon watching right now.
So go
But
ahead.
no, I mean, I think you definitely need to be very great friends, very close with your significant other. If you guys aren't, it kind of. I mean, I think with people that we choose as our best friends and people that we choose as our significant other, it all has to do with chemistry, like how much chemistry you guys have and how much you correlate and kind of sync with each other.
Yeah.
And so I think you definitely need to have that with a significant other. But
Do you ever find it hard to have? Because we talked about women being more emotionally connected and men are physical. I don't know if you're in that same category, but I found it hard, and maybe I don't know if you do. You're attracted to your girlfriend, obviously. Do you ever find it difficult while you guys are having, these talks that you have to have? You're thinking, do you ever wonder, like, we should just go lay down?
no, only because.
Stop it! You know you have.
I would say only because. I would say only because.
I'm setting him up. He's like,
Yes!
oh man, I've got
What
to
are
be
you doing
very
to this
careful
man?
right
Come
now.
on.
Because I dated a girl in the past that was, and I'm not saying anything about girls or guys. I've met a lot of dumb guys,
this
but I
isn't- yeah.
dated a very dumb girl in the past.
Uh-huh.
And Sydney is very intelligent, and there's something just really fresh about talking to your significant
carry on
other.
a conversation.
And it's just
Yeah.
like I can have an intelligent conversation. Like you are smart and you
See,
are interesting, and you have all these opinions.
That's
of
even
different
more of a
kinds.
turn on to me. Like
And-
my
and
wife
when
is
you
super
can't,
smart.
You turn them into the best friend.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing is, my wife is very intelligent, and when we have she can match me. You might not think that's very hard with me, but sometimes it is. But that to me is a turn on.
Yeah.
And I don't mean turn on like, hey, I mean turn on like, and I'm just saying.
If that's your, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying. Look, my wife's an attractive, sexy woman. I look at her as in a physical way because I'm still attracted to her. So when she has when she's having conversations that are intelligent and pointed, and she's talking about her job and stuff she's done, I'm like, I get to have sex with that woman.
I think it's very sexy when I'm
half-assed.
having like an intelligent
Yeah,
conversation. Like
but you can separate. You kind of separate the fact that this is conversation time and not.
I love debates and conversations so much that I feel like I can get so warped into it, and
Okay.
I'm not really thinking about the sexual aspect. I just get very passionate about what we're talking
Okay,
about.
and Danielle, in your interpersonals and stuff, do you, since women are more emotional when it comes to that, you need to have more emotional connection to have sex with someone. Most healthy relationships. Do you, when you've dated before, did you ever find yourself having a nice conversation with your guy and just think, you know what, let's just go and.
Yeah, there's definitely a connection when you have a great conversation with somebody, whether it be intellectual or about sports or something. When you feel those sparks fly, yeah, it connects to a sexual desire. But I'm going to touch on something that you said too, which was all of my best friends, male or female, I have a great amount of respect for. Either the friendship bond or what they give or their line of work or what they do, and I think that same thing is very important, to have respect for your partner, which could be connected to why it's important for our partners to be very good friends.
Yeah, you want to respect them. You wanna have somebody
Absolutely,
that you're just like, I respect
absolutely.
your opinion,
When I think
respect
of
your
my
intelligence.
best friends, I think of them in different reasons, but I have an immense amount of respect for
I feel like
each
they can't
one
get
of
to that
them.
point unless you do have some.
Exactly.
respect for them.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's good. No, that's a good point. So we have about 15 minutes left. You are watching. I haven't done any updates, but you're watching Session Stream Live from Shakers. We do this every Thursday night, 8 to 10 p.m. And this is Real Talk with Real People, and we bring up everyday topics and we run through them, and that's what you're watching. We'd love for you to share this show, and the more you share it, we've had quite a few shares lately. It spreads around, and we're averaging anywhere between 300 and 500 views per show. So we are up to over 100,000 views for all. This is episode 15 or 16. What did I say? Episode 16. It's episode 16. We're over 100,000 views total. So pretty cool. So moving on with our relationship topic, Zach, we're going to go over here.
Sure.
In society's view, and this is something that I was a cop for a while, and I saw this quite a bit as with domestic disputes. But society's view, why women are allowed to be more abusive than men, and I want to be very clear about this. I'm not blaming women. I'm saying that when you go to court, when police show up on the scene, that there is quite a bit of favoritism, or I should
Will you
say,
tuck my purse behind the door?
perceived. Victims are always the female in the relationship because men are naturally more aggressive and physical. But
Yeah, person
why
phone, just-
has society
thank you.
gone to that? And I think we can look at the masculinity issue where men are masculine, and so we know that men are more physical. But then therein lies the problem where men feel defeated, and no man wants to be involved with the police because automatic. I mean, look at any true crime show. The first person talked to is the husband.
Yeah.
It's just natural. So let's just talk about that for a minute. What is this?
Shot? You guys want to take it?
Oh, let's do this.
Cheers.
Okay. Who got this for us?
I did.
Oh, thanks.
Thank
sir.
you.
Thanks.
You are welcome.
Thanks, sir.
Even drinks you don't make are delicious.
Right?
What's
Must be
that?
something about Shakers.
Oh, yeah. So, I don't really drink on the show very much. I just took a shot.
Yeah.
I know the other
Trying to
night I had.
listen up a little bit.
Yeah. So, okay. So, why have we gotten to where society views men as the abuser? And I'm not saying it's unwarranted,
right.
but why is this now more of a problem? Why is this something
you,
that
ma'am.
happens? Because I know it causes problems in relationships.
Of course.
So let's talk to that for just a minute.
All right, real quick. I want to bounce back just real quick.
Yeah.
I actually think it's best to keep your best friend out of the situation.
I knew you were gonna. I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah.
Like
I agree with you
my
there.
best friend is Carrie. I outsource part of my brain to her. She can deal with that part of my brain. I deal with everything else. She's hands down my best friend. I know she's got my back tenfold.
Okay.
That being said, Cody is my best friend.
But you don't. Carrie is someone you view as a platonic friend, even though she's a female.
Yeah.
You hesitated.
Oh, she knows.
See, that's
I
my
have
point.
no hesitation. Colt's one of my best friends,
Yeah.
right? And he's a male, and we have. I mean,
And he's an attractive dude.
of course he is.
And you know this.
Yeah.
But you don't look at him.
What do you?
You don't.
See, and
but you don't
I
look at him
hope
that
he
way.
never
That's a
watches
very
this, but
attractive man.
all of my girlfriends say, "How can you not? How do you not look at him?" Well, first of all, I met him when he was just a kid,
Right.
and I got to know him as a person. I got to know his family,
Right.
and I like genuinely the type of person that he is.
Right.
And there's nothing that I would ever risk
Right.
a friendship on.
Because you value that
Yeah,
relationship too
hell
much.
yeah.
And I think that a lot of times is what happens with women in general is they are the ones that kind of, I'm not going to say always, but they kind of reason things out a little more in that. Is fact, like if they meet a guy that they're friends with, because I think women like having male friends more than guys like having girlfriends.
Yeah, 'cause that's tough.
It is.
It's tough for the guys. It's
It
not
is.
tough for girls.
And that's what I'm saying, because I think a guy, there's a couple things. One is you talk to a circle of guys and be like, women drive me freaking nuts. The things they say, the things they think, right? And they also think, well, I want to have sex with her. And so there's that weird balance with guys because we're very physical and very kind of cavemanish, you know what I'm saying, Neanderthal. Not every one of us, obviously, but I think women lean towards, if you meet a guy that you have great conversation with, that is nice, sweet, in general, you value that, and you know that anything past good conversation and friendship is going to cause a riff in
Just
that.
never viewed him in that way, and I don't think that I ever would.
Yeah, and so
Anyway,
I
sorry.
think I think that's true.
No, no,
Brought it
Let's
away
go.
But
from
no, Carrie and I's 100% platonic relationship, just so I know we joke. Only friends with her to get to her mom. Now, what you asked, though.
Well, at least you're being honest.
Well, yeah. You know.
Wait, so and then your mom, so that's like a mom-daughter thing. You freak. You freak.
What's up, Chrissy? So,
She's probably LOLing or red-faced sighing right now.
both, actually,
Yeah.
if I know her.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's still the stigmata, all right? Like myself, when I was in my last relationship, I took a frying pan to the face.
Yeah.
No, guess what I
Did
did?
not help you at all.
I laid my
What
motorcycle
did you
down.
used to look like?
That's what I did. I laid my bike down.
What do you mean you laid your bike down?
Because I'm going to tell someone that a 5'1" individual beat me with a frying pan.
So there was a lot of shame for you.
Yeah, hands down.
I get that.
And I think that's going to be a big situation in why women get a little bit of the slide there. You know, there's actually one of the cop shows, I think it was called like Memphis or something like that. The guy was actually the abusive. He was being abused. And they bypassed him and went straight to her. You know, because they saw that signs, and I'm sure working in the force, working in that line, you're going to see that in some cases. And me, like, I don't know, I'm 6'4". Instantly, someone being abused for domestic, I'm target number
Cop
one.
walks in and sees you, and he's like, "I'm sorry, hold on a minute, Miss Woody.
Can I get some
Yeah.
backup, please?
We have a werewolf. We have a lichen sighting. We have to. So to speak into that point, a case in point actually, when I was a cop, in a small police department, there was a case that we showed up, and the girl had called us. The guy called us too, but the girl called us second and said, you know, we're this and this and we're fighting. So we show up, and this guy is bleeding from his forehead all down his face, and she has no evidence of any kind of abuse at all. And she's the more adversarial one. She's more pissed off, and so he bristles. He bristles when we walk in because he's dealt with this before. And he's like, his first thing he said is, "Oh God, here we go. I'm going to jail." And I'm like, "Hold on a minute. I always wanted to figure out what was going on. I didn't want to just walk in and go, guy's guilty, woman's not." So I'm looking at him and I'm looking at her and I'm thinking, okay, something happened to him. So my first question was, what happened to you? And he said, I don't want to say in front of her. So I took him over by himself and I said, what happened? He said, well, she cracked me with the butt of a .22 rifle. Just like. So I looked at this, and it was welted up, blood coming down. I'm like, wow. So I stopped and I went to her and I looked at her and I said, well, what happened, ma'am? Did he physically? And she goes, well, he grabbed my arm right here and there's a bruise. I said, okay. Is that anything else? No, that was about it. But he wouldn't listen to me. He wouldn't listen to me when I was talking to him. So I went back to him and he goes, you going to arrest me now? And I'm like, why am I going to arrest you? She's the aggressor. And he actually shook my hand and said, thank you. He goes, you're the first cop that actually listened and paid attention. So my whole point to this, having personal experience like that is it is very true that law enforcement is trained.
Yep.
I went through the police academy, and it's called the primary aggressor. It's the person that is determined by the police officer when you arrive at the scene, who is, based on your observations and what you see, who was the one that did most of the assaulting, or who was the one that really was and the problem with it is, if you're a guy, and I know in my relationship, my wife is not a weak, frail woman, but I know if I got physical with her and we were both going at it, I would think that she would have more bruises to bear from it. And so obviously I would be the primary aggressor, even if I was just defending myself. And I think society has led us, like you were saying, society has led us to a level of acceptance that men are physical and they're beasts and they're Neanderthals and this poor frail woman. But I'm going to tell you, from being in a relationship, my last marriage, and I'm not going to say who it was, but she abused me. I woke up one time being slapped in the face. I'm not talking about just tapped. I'm talking about full out mounted slapped because she had a dream that I cheated on her. And so I got beat up. And so she saw a prom picture from when I was in high school and wanted to know who the girl was. This is the type of stuff I dealt with. So here, my thing is we talk about interpersonal relationships, and I think we have some preconceived notions, and we talked about this earlier, where we're conditioned to think a certain way. And I think doing this, trying to break down some of those barriers and some of those preconceived things, where not all men are guilty and not all women are guilty. Not all men cheat, not all women cheat. And I think it just take two. And that's the thing is we have to open our minds and be more realistic about how we view things in the world. And if we're going to have a successful, healthy relationship, we have to let go of everything that we have conditioned ourselves to expect out of people. And I'll be honest with you, if it hadn't been for my wife, I don't know that I ever would have gotten serious again with anybody, because I swore off dating. I was just going to be a bachelor. I was going to be an older guy, one of those weird older guys that that own a business and date. But I was going to be fine with that. I was like, look, I'll find a girl, I'll take her on vacation, and we'll go have fun. And then if we want to not see each other, it's fine. I was going to be that guy. And then I met my wife, and she showed me that not everybody's like everybody else. And so I wasn't. You showing me something? Oh, okay. I think I preconditioned myself. Do you guys feel like? And I don't know about you. Before how long have you been dating your girlfriend?
It's about 2 years now.
Okay, so you're from 21 to now. Okay, so you've kind of experienced kind of your beginning adult years where you're kind of getting out there seeing things. And I met Sydney. She's very smart, very intelligent girl. Hopefully she's going to be my artist for her book. Hopefully she accepts that. But I'm interested. Your life before that, and I know you were young and you were kind of getting into the dating, but did you date someone previous to that for a long term?
Yeah, I dated a girl for 2.5 years before Sydney, and then I dated a girl before that for technically 5 years, but it was like it was a literal 7th grade relationship that started out, so it's like a relationship, but it lasted until our senior year. So like once you get into high school, like it starts getting more serious, but it's kind of hard to say exactly how long I dated.
See, that
starts out as a little.
Has anybody else thought about this? There used to be that fairy tale of high school sweethearts, right? Yeah. Now when I hear that, I'm like, oh, divorce. There is I look at high school sweethearts, I'm like, in the 50s maybe, when things were more pure and more simple, and we didn't have all of these access to all this stuff. But if I hear somebody say, "This is my high school sweetheart," and I'm like, for example, if I'm a DJ at a wedding and they're like, "Oh, we started dating in 10th grade and now we're 24," I'm thinking to myself is, oh no, someone's going to eventually wake up and go, I've never dated anybody else.
Well, I feel like
I've never kissed another man or woman. I've never gone to a movie with another.
Yeah. So most high school sweethearts that I know, one of them ends up cheating because they get to a point where they're like, I've never had any kind of interaction with any other person.
Anything else. Yeah.
Like we were talking about before, it turns into a situation where they're like, oh, I forgave him and took him back because we just have so much history. And
that excuse is used so often. Yeah, I've had so much time invested, I can't walk away. I have 3 friends down here in small town, Cape Girardeau, that are high school sweethearts. Yeah. And from even before then, like 7th, 8th grade. Now they haven't completely dated until now, and they're all in their 30s, all have families.
So they've
had some split ups and come back together. Yeah. But that shocked me because that from St. Louis. See you guys. That's something that in a bigger town we just didn't experience, I guess. But that was something that was interesting to me when I moved to Cape, that I found 3 different people that had dated their high school sweetheart or before high school and still together with them now in their middle 30s and having family and thriving, having great relationships.
Well, and I think if you date in high school and you kind of get to know each other through high school, you kind of know how they were when they were young, right?
Yeah.
And then if you live a little life, you go off and live a little life, and then you guys reconnect.
Yep.
And then I think there's difference there.
That's what happened with a lot of them. Like one went to college and then came back.
You had a chance to grow up and kind of see life on your own, and maybe you got to date around a little bit. But anybody that falls in love in high school, falls in love, I put quotes around it,
right,
and then gets out of high school and moves right in with that person, starts making babies. I don't know of one. Now, at one point maybe, but I don't know of one nowadays that I've ever heard of that's stood the test of time.
We were all jealous, like the first girl out of high school that got married and had babies. We were like, oh, we want all that. And then she was a single mother and divorced at 20.
The fairy tale turned dark.
Thank God that's not me.
I feel like it probably worked
That's
out
how
better
I
back
feel.
in the day because that was this like societal expectation. It was just like
Sure.
that. Like you meet somebody in high school, you
And-
get married,
and you stuck.
Yeah, and then like
You work
in
through thick
today's
and
age,
thin.
your
Now
friends
you
will
give
make
up.
comments to you about like, you guys
Yeah.
been dating since high school? Like,
Yeah.
you never experienced anything else? You got to date around a little bit. And it's,
Yeah.
like, what,
You're like,
it's the outside
what?
feedback
Right.
that you get.
So-
See, I never had that mindset until I was on the opposite page. My 7-year relationship was from high school on through.
yeah, oh yeah.
So we're going to close things out. Danielle, thank you for saving us.
Of course.
I appreciated having that point of view, and we have come to the end of another show, and we do sessions every Thursday from 8 to 10 p.m. It's kind of near the end of the week and kind of get you going for the weekend. Next week's episode is super interesting. Want to let you know about that. We're going to talk about health. We're going to talk about food, fitness, and medicine, and it should be a very in-depth. We'll talk about the conspiracies around health and how I believe that the government poisons us every day.
I feel like this is a direct attack at me. So
It is.
I'm out.
It is. You're not out. You're not allowed to be out. But you have been watching sessions, and for my guests, Zach, Cody, Jonathan, and the lovely Danielle, we're happy to be with you. No, you're
Beautiful.
I know. Beautiful. Yeah. We're happy that you join us every week, and for the ones that have been here since the beginning, or since Zach or whoever's come on, we appreciate it. Cody is now 16 episodes in. He's been at every episode.
16 strong.
Yeah,
Congrats.
man, we're going, right?
Yeah.
We would be getting renewed for another season by now. This is actually a show. But we appreciate everybody's involvement and messaging the show. We'd love to have some more females on, so please, I would love to have some female guests come on. You're more than welcome. Next week will be about health, so if you have any interest in being involved in that, contact me on the Facebook page and you can have your input. I would love to have some messages ahead of time so we can include that in the show and maybe make it part of the discussion topics. So for my guest, I'm Eric, your host. This is Shaker's Bar, Downtown Cape. We stream sessions every week, Thursday, 8 to 10 p.m. Thanks for joining us, and we hope you'll come back for real talk with real people. Thanks.
Hey guys.